Okay, would you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your current works and your previous works, both in the space of mediation and without?
Okay, I am Uwala. My name is Uwala Esther Murphy Akpiey. I'm a lawyer by training, and about 10 years back, 20 years plus back, I stumbled into the mediation career, and I've been enjoying it so far. Right now, I'm a collaborative lawyer, negotiator, and mediator with over 20 years of experience in Nigerian commercial and corporate law. Throughout my career, I have successfully resolved numerous conflicts through non-adversarial methods. So far, I think I've established myself as a dedicated team player who consistently seek innovative solutions to challenge legal issues. In addition to my legal expertise, I have also gained valuable experience in alternative dispute resolution, mediation in particular. I have honed my skills in mediation, I want to believe that, and mediation advocacy. This comprehensive background, I believe, allows me to approach disputes with holistic perspective, understanding the intricacies and dynamics of both legal and alternative dispute resolution, mediation in particular. Currently, I practice as an empaneled mediator with the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse here in Nigeria and the Institute of Chartered Mediation and Arbitrators. Institute of Chartered Mediators and Conciliators. And I am a member of the faculty of Nigerian Chartered Institute of Arbitration, where I teach negotiation and other ADRO processes. I also do some victim offender mediation, restorative justice. Currently, I'm hoping to pursue a master's degree in mediation and ADRO LLM, focusing on mediation and restorative justice practice. I believe this academic pursuit will reflect my passion for mediation, ADRO, and my commitment to staying abreast of international legal and ADRO developments. I practiced law when I left law school, then I left and I went to the industry. I rose to become the company secretary legal advisor, handling the board and the company. I was also manager, human resources and personnel before I left and went back to practice and concentrate more now on my mediation practice. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that extensive background. I can tell that you are an incredibly experienced mediator, and I'm going to have lots of questions to ask you on that. To start off with, I'm very interested to know, you said you stumbled into mediation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that early experience?
How I stumbled or my early experience at mediation?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say stumbled, because I had a friend who is a judge, and while I was in the corporate world, she came up and said, "Oh, let's go and do the CEDAR training." I told her I was not interested yet because I have children. I managed between my 4 kids, and they were still young there and going to work and all that. And she just had 1 kid then, and she did the CEDAR and she passed and invited me for a small party. And I was like, "Really? Is that it?" That was fine. She gave me the forms, but I didn't feel it then. And I was still struggling between taking care of children, going to work and other things. So eventually, the Lagos Multi-Door Court started in earnest, and they were giving during what they call their settlement week, during the settlement week, they mediate cases free of charge for people trying to use it as an opportunity to create awareness about mediation. So the director there, for 2 years, invited me to come and mediate some workplace disputes and some tenancy, landlord and tenant dispute. One other one I can't remember. I did it and they gave me some really small money, but at least I felt fulfilled that I, mediated those disputes. So eventually I now made up my mind. Let me tell you, to be sincere with you, I wanted to be busier. And it was like, what should I do now? My daughters now said, JB, your friends keep telling you about mediation. Why don't you go and do that training? I said, okay. And I told her that, look, I'm ready to do mediation now. She was so happy. So I said, I would like to do the CEDA, even though they don't come to Nigeria anymore. You have to go to England. Then there was no online training, was not that popular, And she was like, why don't you do the training with the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse Training Institute? CEDA actually set them up, Syllabus is almost the same. And if you pass that, you are sure of passing the CEDA, because we have another friend who is a judge who failed the CEDA exam in Nigeria, went to England during summer, failed again. And she was like, oh no, this is not for me.
Goodness.
So I said, okay. And I did the training. I did very well. And after the training, you do what they call the observation. You observe. And after that, you're allowed to do solo mediation. Thereafter, they start to give you some, easier files like landlord and tenant issues to handle. And that's how I went into mediation. And in short, I was angry with myself that I did not start earlier, because I love mediating.
That's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that with us. It sounds definitely like you didn't stumble into it so much as you were encouraged by other
Yes,
women mediators.
I said, I shouldn't use that word stumble, really.
So do you feel like other women mediators kind of encouraged you to take this path?
Yeah, this particular friend of mine, childhood friend, she's a high court judge. She's actually the deputy head of the multi-door court of a state called Delta State. She actually encouraged me, and since then my passion grew so much and became so enthusiastic, and
that's so wonderful. It's wonderful to hear stories of women encouraging women, particularly because this is quite a male-dominated field as well.
It is, but funny enough, do you know in Nigeria, it's like we have more women mediators, because most trainings I go, you have more women. Like in the Lagos Multi-Door Court, we have about 70% women to men. But still, men are still in more than us. But I'm just talking about Lagos State. I don't know about other states in Nigeria. We have 36 states. But in Lagos State, we have more women mediators. Maybe it's one of these male chauvinistic thing about men, or this patriarchal thing. Some of them still feel that, mediation is, they want to kind of believe it's more, make them feel more manly to litigate, until gradually they come to know about the benefits of mediation and they start to stumble into it. They feel it's not exciting to them enough, but we're still doing creating a lot of awareness to get them in, getting them to tell them about mediation advocacy, do the training. From there, they get to know. There was a mediation I was doing, and the lawyer was very uncooperative, and he was like, well, I have to go. I have a matter. I cannot waste my time in this mediation. Let's meet in court. And okay, they were going to take a date, and she said, oh, he's busy. He has to be in court of appeal. He has to be in high court. I said, excuse me, if it's not convenient for you, can you ask another lawyer in your chambers to represent your client? He said, no, he has to do it. I said, then if you have to do it, you are supposed to protect the interest of your client, and you have to create time or send another lawyer to go for your court demands.
Mm.
And it was like, so I now called the caucus meeting, held a caucus with him and the other lawyer from, representing the other party. I didn't want to be too harsh with them because at least that's also my jurisdiction, even though I'm sitting here as a mediator. And it was like, he felt happy that I gave them that honor. And he now opened up that, this mediation, there's no money. If they settle here now, the client won't pay him, all the money is expecting. And I told him, this way you even get more money. Because, for example, if you have a matter now and your client comes and say, oh, there's this matter you need to do for me, you bill them exactly how you bill in your legal practice. Tell them, but we will explore mediation. Let's say you're charging $2,000. You can say, okay, if we try mediation, if you settle the mediation, fine. But before we start, you can give me $500 deposit. If we settle in mediation, you give me another $500 and that's it. But if we don't settle and we have to go to trial, you pay me the $2,000 and may ask for more because I cannot guarantee when the litigation will end. And it was like, really? I said, yes. So you can imagine if you have so many matters and you settle within 1 week, few days, 2 weeks, you get your $1,000 and there you go. You don't stress yourself going to trial. You don't you know how much we save with stress and all that? And it was like, oh, do you know, is one of our regular lawyers that come to the Lagos multi-door courthouse now. And they always tell people, oh, Mrs. Murphy encouraged me. And I also told him, go and do the training in mediation advocacy so that you can have the mindset of a mediator and, stop being adversarial when you're in the mediation and environment. So he's doing so well. So we still need to create a lot of awareness in my jurisdiction, in my country, about mediation. It's okay in Lagos and Abuja, the capital, but so many other states are still working on it. We have what they call the Lagos Settlement Week 3 times a year. That way, we don't take any money from the parties. They come and file their matters. We assist them to, mediate it for them and help them to resolve their dispute. And that way, they tell people. Sometimes we go around and marketplaces and other places to talk to people about mediation. We go to the different communities. Last year, we were at a community called Badagry by the seaside. It was like the first time we did community mediation, and it was awesome. And there was this dispute between the community and an electricity provider company that has been on for more than 5 years, and I was able to get it resolved, and it was a kind of ceremony eventually. They were so happy. So that's it. So far, I hope I'm not talking too much.
Not at all. This is absolutely fascinating stuff. And it's interesting to see how mediation is actually quite beneficial to legal practices as well, as you're explaining it.
Yeah.
Do you think you're saying that there's quite a large number of women involved in mediation in your area? What sort of level in Lagos, what sort of level mediation do you think that they are working on? Is it more community level or is it higher at a national type level?
Not national type, more like community, family, property, landlord and tenants, consumer rights, more of banking matters. Most of the banks would rather explore mediation. Yes.
I see. I see. That brings me to
Social.
my. No, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
My actual first question for you, we've been chatting so much here, but my first question for you is, as an African mediator, do you think your approach to mediation is impacted by your cultural background?
My cultural background? Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of influence from the cultural background that impacts our mediation, patriarchal influence, financial influence, you know.
So context really does impact the mediator and the mediation process.
Yes, and they have this stereotype, they have this mindset that women are just, there. They shouldn't be at the forefront mediating or doing some stuff, especially when it comes to, they don't give us the opportunity to do international mediations, the structural exclusion from decision-making positions. They don't grant us that. Women are not given leadership position in mediations, the leadership space is really reserved for men. Decision power making are kept for men. Those with decision-making power continue to exclude women mediator by not paying enough attention to us, They don't give us credence. They don't give women credence to mediate, and women's role in informal track two peace processes. Women mediators actually face a lot of exclusion from official negotiation between warring parties. We have some uh, feud, wars between different tribes or different villages. When it comes to mediating, they don't give us that opportunity to join. They feel, oh, women shouldn't be part of things like that. The tradition, the culture and tradition. They also feel matrimonial preoccupations, Feel we have to look after children, take care of our home. We don't have the emotional stability to do things like that. All those are barriers that women face, So we are still trying to work on that, even though women are good mediators, even in a male-dominated world. Women still struggle to be heard by the parties to a conflict, We continue to be sidelined at the negotiating table or room. But women, we make up about 2% of mediators in major peacekeeping processes, and we are very good. We are very effective, even though the men are also effective at initial settlements. Female mediators are significantly more effective in mediating binding settlements. Women mediators, we always reject the overuse of traditional and social norms, as a means of limiting us, So there are lots of barriers to women mediators, and especially again the patriarchal norms. We face a lot of conflicts like rape, sexual exploitation, gender-based violence. These crimes are often presented as women issues in my place, in Nigeria, where I come from. And they view it as having little relevance to peace processes, which really makes us get angry. They view our they call it women issues, and they view it as a distraction from peace processes, and we don't like it at all. So most women mediators are working hard to prove to them that we can even do better than them, And this distraction from gender dynamics of conflicts and wars or uprising, or, because we have a lot of ethnic uprising, religious uprising, they are mainly as a result of patriarchal norms, which hinders a substantive participation of women as mediators, and it has made it difficult for us to actualize women participating more, especially in national and international mediation, So these gender dynamics of conflicts are only labeled as such when it comes to issues that pertain to women, you can imagine. Or another issue we have is funding constraints. it's also another barrier that women face, with regards to women inclusion and participation in the mediation and, peace processes. So if women had the financial support, it will open doors and opportunities for women to effectively prepare to impact negotiations and mediations. I believe so. Yeah. It's always never enough. We never have enough money. And if I may refer to the United Nations Security Council, they formally acknowledge through the creation of resolution 1325, they recognize the role that women can and already do play with regards to mediation. So we want to get the men and those in charge to include women mediators, in peace building processes, and increase access and visibility, do more trainings for women mediators at both the local and international level so that we can be more visible and mediate more.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned the major barriers that you as a woman mediator and other women mediators face.
Yes.
How do you believe, you've mentioned a bit about funding and training, but how else can women overcome these challenges to their inclusion in mediation?
Yeah, we can overcome it, like I said, by getting regular training and funding. And then, we can use, you mean, can I get a question again, please?
I was just wondering if you think there's other ways that women can overcome these barriers other than training and funding.
You see, these traditional norms and patriarchal norms still remains there.
Okay.
It's the men to give us a chance and allow us to be and treat us equally as them, because women mediators they even do better than men, I believe, when it comes to final settlement of disputes.
Okay.
We want to be given a chance. We want inclusion.
Absolutely.
Even though it's a male-dominated world, we struggle to be heard by our parties when there's a conflict. We continue to be sidelined at the mediation table, like I said, and we want to be heard. We don't want to be sidelined. We want to be treated. In Africa, you can't even say equally, but given enough chance to enable us play our role and help society for peace to reign.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned now that women are very good at mediation. They have certain skills that benefit mediation. What, in your opinion, are the skills a mediator needs to be good with mediation?
A mediator needs to be patient, good listening skill, be good with the mediation processes, like self-determination, voluntariness, fairness, confidentiality. Women are very good at things like that. Very good at things like that. Empathy, intelligence, flexible, friendly, good communication skill, should be able to summarize properly and reframe, conflict resolution skills, creative thinking, credibility. You want to establish credibility so that your parties can trust you and respect you.
Absolutely. That trust is so very important.
Yes.
And you've explained to us some of the vast training that you've received. How important do you think this training and experience is for mediators?
Even though we have some people that don't go through any training, like in the normal African culture, we've had mediation existing before now. The elders conduct the mediation with the family and village people without any formal training. But if you do training, it gives you more structure.
Okay.
The 40 hours mediation training minimum, and do a lot of volunteer work. From there, you get experience. You just keep on training and do more mediation and get more experience. It gives you more confidence.
So you can have that experience, but then training does just offer that little bit of extra structure.
Yes.
Okay. And then to ask you a little bit more about your approach to mediation, what is it that you prioritize in a mediation process? Do you look at the output of the mediation or the process of the mediation?
I look more at the process of the mediation, and the mediation process, the opening statement, the ground rules, and make sure parties are, understanding what is going on, and they are cooperating and participating. So even if they don't settle, at least they cooperate, they have some good faith, and they're able to untangle some salient points in their disputes and understand it. Yeah.
The process is definitely important. And do you have a particular preferred approach to mediation or not?
I prefer the facilitative approach. I do more of that. But actually, it depends on the type of issue, problem, or dispute you have at hand.
Okay, that makes sense. Would you mind explaining a little bit more about the facilitative approach for those of us who don't really know much about that?
In the facilitative approach, you don't decide for the parties. You don't tell them what to do. You just facilitate the mediation process and guide and assist them. They have to come to a settlement of their own the dispute. They take decisions. You don't take decisions for them, unlike the evaluation mediation process.
And you say you've mediated more than 100 conflicts to date: social conflict, economic conflict, community conflicts, victim offender mediation. Would you like to tell us maybe a little bit about one of those experiences of mediation? Share a little bit with us what it was like.
Yeah, I believe the social and economic conflicts, they are all both social conflicts, and family dispute is an example of a social conflict. Women play a lot of more role in family conflicts. Women are mostly at the receiving end, and women mediators understand the anger. They understand the anger, the passion, and the emotions that are involved or will be involved in family mediation. So women they also understand the emotional intelligence, the power imbalance in family mediation. So women tend to really do well when it comes to family mediations. They are in a better position to really understand the family disputes, disputes better. Like we mentioned earlier on, the cornerstone of mediation is self-determination, self-determination, confidentiality, fairness, voluntariness. All these women mediators are very good at play. They're able to play these roles better than men, I believe, and especially if you're going through separation, divorce, and custody issues, for example. Arrangement is very hard. Divorce and separation, custody issues, arrangements are very hard on everyone and anyone involved in it. So, but women mediators are able to handle. They're able to handle the process and proceedings very well. They handle it better, and they are able to assist the parties involved to put the past behind them by helping them to settle their grievances out of court, and they understand the emotions that the women, or both the woman and the man, they feel. They understand the anger, the power involved in it, and they're able to help the parties, when they're handling such conflict or dispute. Help the parties to improve communication so that they are cordial with each other, no hard language, no disrespect. They help to improve communication, let the parties know why they need to take away anger and calm down, and they reduce anger a lot, and which helps to encourage future cooperation between both parties in a family mediation. Women are very good at that, and I try to do that as well.
Absolutely. Do you have a particular success story or a mediation story where it was successful, or you felt that you had done a good job in the mediation that you'd like to share with us?
The one I just did was actually, the most recent one is to do with a victim offender mediation. But the landmark one was a community mediation, like I mentioned earlier, at a community that has had issues with electricity provider for more than 20 to 25 years. I was able to resolve the dispute. It took me more than 6 months anyway, because we kept dragging, they go, they come. At the point I was in the US, and we were doing online, and eventually when I came back, and we got it resolved. Yes, I was patient, persevered, and Did you want me to talk about the process I went through, or just that's okay?
It's really up to you. We're just interested to know in any experience, any case that you had that you might like to share with us. So it's really up to you. You can also share about the victim offender dialogue if you like.
Okay,
Perhaps the difference, it would be interesting for me because I work with women who are incarcerated. So personally, I would be interested to know the difference between a victim offender dialogue mediation process and a community conflict mediation process.
The victim offender restorative justice mediation process that I had was between this lady who was working in a finance house, and I think part of her role was to collect money daily from people who deposit money. Sometimes she goes to the market women to collect the money from them, because they say they don't have time to go to the bank. But somehow some of the money she goes to collect for them, she didn't pay it into the bank finance house account, and eventually they got to know, and they approached the customers, and the customer said, "Oh, we have paid. Look at our passbook signed by your staff." And anyway, eventually they took her to court, and the judge, in her wisdom, referred the matter for restorative victim offender mediation, and the offender accepted that she committed the crime, the offense, and that she was ready to pay back, and we wanted to know why she did that, what was in her mind, how did she feel, what did she think the victim is feeling, and all that. And we also spoke to the victim about how does he feel now when it happened, and all that. And he just wants his money back, and the offender was willing to pay, but she could not afford to pay all at once, and they had to agree on a payment plan at first. She couldn't pay because she got married. I think part of the money she also used for her wedding, and the husband came with her. Eventually, the husband said, "Oh, he has to have a family meeting with her wife's family and her own family, so that they talk about it, because the amount of money they agreed to pay, every month was on the high side for him. The amount he wanted to pay, under the payment plan, the victim did not accept it. And he came back, after we prepared the settlement paper just for them to sign with waiting, he said they will go back to court. And, I was like, oh my God, after all the ups and downs. So they went back to court and the judge sent them back. Now, look, it's a criminal case. If you don't say to come here, you will go to prison. Anyway, they eventually came back. We met again, and they agreed to pay, the amount, and they signed, and that was it. Sound easy, but it wasn't so easy. The going forth and coming back. Yeah.
It sounds
At least
like
you could see most. The offender apologized, and the victim felt so bad that with this payment plan, it could affect his business, and all that. But it's better than none. She cannot afford to pay. At first, when the husband had the family meeting, the husband's family said, well, they were not married to her when this crime happened, so they are not going to be part of it. And her own family could not afford it alone with her. But I'm sure they now had another meeting, and he now agreed to help the wife with his family to pay. He eventually signed the, victim offender mediation settlement terms.
It's interesting to hear how this mediation was so successful in keeping a woman out of prison and at the same time restoring what had been taken from the victims. So it seems very successful. It was, for me, I would say, a win-win situation.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yes, that is mediation, right? Is a win-win, is what we're looking for. Is there any particular conflict, any particular mediation that was very challenging but taught you a lot?
Yes, there are. There was the case of this. I do a lot of mediation. I can't even think of the one that I always learn from every mediation that I do.
Okay.
I learn what the other, the approach, what the parties like, what helps them, and if it's positive, I adopt it and use it in another mediation. Yes.
And that's part of that need to improve the future mediation processes, to also adapt and to be flexible and learn as a mediator.
Yes, I am intentional about improving the mediation process. Any case I do, like I said, I know the process, the issues. If a process or the parties had issues with it and it did not work for them, I note it, see how I can improve on it to get parties comfortable in the future of mediation. On the other hand, again, if the parties are okay, I will apply that process in future. In family type mediation, for example, I have noticed one is based on culture and gender, etc. In application of gender issues, for example, when I see that some parties may not feel comfortable with only a particular gender as the mediator, for example, other parties are female. In a mediation setting, sometimes the mediator is female, both parties are, the other side is female. One of the participants can just come up and say, oh, how come everybody here is female, and you may not like it, and sometimes maybe it's a chieftaincy mediation. Some of those traditional rulers can come there and say, oh, the female mediator cannot mediate this issue for me. It's against our culture. Again, patriarchal norms, you know. So, well, we find a way and ensure. I will have that in mind at my next mediation. Maybe I invite a co-mediator, to join me, and if they don't like it, we get a male mediator, as the case may be, to help out.
So there's that flexibility and adaptability of the process.
Yes, very well.
In your opinion, what should be the selection criteria for a leader in mediation? Because I see you've led mediation processes, you've been a leader in mediation yourself. What do you think is the best qualities for a leader in mediation?
A leader in mediation has to have patience, perseverance, to prevent you from being disengaged when you encounter opposition or lack of cooperation through the process. By being willing to persevere, you may be able to use the proper technique to reach compromise successfully. Persuasion is another, skill or trait. Persuasive skills also help to motivate and cooperative parties. You should be persuasive. If you have a problem-solving skills, you need the problem-solving skills to be able to, for example, go through stalemate or deadlock and encourage cooperation. You need a lot of control, to maintain objectivity as a mediator. Do not be emotionally involved with parties. You are supposed to be neutral. You've got to always maintain neutrality. Another trait I think is tact. This refers to how you approach interacting parties. You should be tactful. Tactfulness will ensure that it will help you not to upset your parties. So you mind, so for example, if you are trying to be humorous, you wash it so that you don't go and, create some jokes that will offend the party. Very important, you must be trustworthy. Parties must trust you. The parties must trust you.
And how do you build up that trustworthiness as a leader in mediation?
A leader in mediation, in your conversations, especially to be confidential. The 2 layers of confidentiality must be maintained during the joint meetings and caucus meetings. You want to maintain that. Then go about to tell others what you must get the consent of a party to disclose to the other parties. You also want to maintain establish credibility.
Yeah.
So that you can be trusted, the parties can trust and respect you.
Absolutely. That trust is so vital. We've worked through all of the questions that I've got here on my list. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
We've talked about why substantive participation of women. We talked about that. And just like to say, for example, in Rwanda, women now had some organizations, where they had a Tutsi and Hutu crisis. We now have a particular commission that was headed by a man. We will now have a woman that is heading it, and there's a lot of good reconciliation taking place there to show that women can do very well as well, be given the chance. And I want to just mention one of the sayings of Julius Nyerere. He said, "No man can run fast on one foot. So also, no nation can develop without women. Women and children will suffer a lot more when there's war and conflict. And again, the resolution, UN Resolution 1325, talks about women participating in peacekeeping. Women play very good roles and should be given the chance to be included. There should be inclusivity for women in mediation in Africa.
Absolutely. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Do you want to leave that as your last words, or is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, except you want to ask me another question. I think I don't mind leaving that as my last closing remark.
I think it was beautiful. I think we can definitely end there. And thank you so very, very much for being
Yes.
part of this.